What's up, guys? JT Postman here, and we are back with another episode of our Let's Talk NHL series. And in this video, I want to talk about the few trades that have happened over the past few days. First off being the Frederik Andersen trade to the Toronto Maple Leafs and the Keith Yandle trade and signing with the Florida Panthers. So, first off, the Frederik Andersen trade. So the Anaheim Ducks trade goaltender Frederik Andersen to the Toronto Maple Leafs in exchange for the 30th overall pick in the 2016 draft, as well as a 2017 second-round pick. So this is an incredible deal for the Toronto Maple Leafs. They easily win this trade. It's not a terrible deal for Anaheim, but I don't like it from their perspective. Now, first off, Toronto fans, they should be very excited for Frederik Andersen. It seems like some Toronto fans are kind of afraid that he's not going to be good just because they've had so many goaltenders come and go that haven't been good. So they're very skeptical. It's kind of like, well, we'll believe it when we see it kind of thing. It doesn't matter what he did for the Ducks. We want to see him in Toronto and see how well he does. I think he's going to be great. You look at his stats the past few seasons. 2013-14, he went 20-5. 2014-15, he went 35-12. And 2015-16, he went 22-9. And a lot of people are saying he had a great team in front of him. But, I don't want to say not necessarily, but it's not like he's, Crawford, where he's got the Stanley Cup champions in front of him, or a team like that. He has played very well, and he's bailed them out in a lot of games in the playoffs. And his defense, I like the Ducks' defense. I like Vatanen, Lindholm, Fowler, Bieksa, all those guys, Dupre, but it's not an amazing defensive core. They don't have a top two defenseman. I'd say Vatanen, Lindholm, and Fowler are all top fours. They don't have an incredible defense, so you can't really say that he has an amazing defense in front of him. But yeah, he's put up some great stats in Anaheim. I was very surprised that the Ducks traded Frederik Andersen over John Gibson. I understand that they may think that John Gibson has a higher ceiling, and that he's only like 22, 23. He could still get better. But over the past few years, Frederik Andersen has proved that he is the more consistent and better goaltender. Again, Gibson can still, he still has room to grow, and maybe now that he's the full-time starter, maybe he'll raise his game to the next level. But John Gibson, I don't have the stats in front of me, but he hasn't seemed to be very consistent with the Ducks. They seem to they go with him for a stretch, think, okay, now this is it, he's going to be our starter, and then he falters, and then they put Andersen back in, and he kind of plays out the whole season. The last few years, 2014-15, Andersen played 54 games. This season he played 43. So they were kind of dividing them up. But especially in the playoffs, Andersen's been the better goaltender. So, if I were the Ducks, I would have hung on to Frederik Andersen, just because Gibson, I don't know if he's ready to be given 60-plus games a year. I can't see the Ducks, after trading a goaltender, go and try to trade for another one. That doesn't really make sense. Who's their third-string goalie? Is it still Anton Khudobin? I'm not sure. Maybe they split 40-40 between them, or maybe they go like 50-30 between the two. But I don't know. If I'm a Ducks fan, I don't feel comfortable with John Gibson playing more than 50 games a year. At least not yet. But again, he still has room to grow. But that's the thing with goaltenders. Frederik Andersen's 26 years old. He hasn't even hit his prime yet. Goaltenders, they're always later bloomers. They always hit their prime later than defensemen and forwards. Guys like Henrik Lundqvist, he didn't even come into the NHL until he was around 25 years old. Carey Price didn't really hit his stride until he was like 26-ish. Jonathan Quick, same thing. Goaltenders usually don't hit their prime until they're about 28 years old, or around there. So Andersen still has a few years until he's at his best, pretty much. And this isn't like any of the other cases. Goaltenders the Maple Leafs have tried to bring in over the years. Andrew Raycroft, he had a great first season, or first couple seasons, but he ended up being a bust. J.S. Jaguar, they got him after his prime. Vesa Toskala, he was a backup in San Jose. He was never a proven starter. They thought maybe he could be, and he wasn't. That's the history the Maple Leafs have had. They take these backup goaltenders and expect them to be able to play 60-plus games a year and be a winning goaltender, and it just doesn't happen. Jonas Gustafsson never panned out to be a starter. James Reimer is the best goalie they've had in the last decade, but is he able to be the starter for 60, even 70 games a year? No. I don't think so, at least. I mean, he's a good, solid goaltender. He's definitely better than a backup, but he's not one of the better goaltenders in the league. Jonathan Bernier, same thing from LA. They traded for him as a backup goalie, thinking that he could become a starter, and they tried splitting games between him and Reimer, and that didn't really work out. Just so many goaltenders have come and gone. Ben Scrivens as well. He left, and he actually ended up playing pretty decently in Edmonton. And now he's in, I think, Montreal. Or actually, no, I think he... what happened with him? Yeah, I think he's in Montreal. Pretty sure. I could be wrong with that. I don't remember. I know he got traded around January, but I don't remember what team. It doesn't matter. But Frederik Andersen's the real deal. Like I said before, he's bailed out the Ducks in the playoffs before. He's played well. He shared the Jennings Trophy this year with John Gibson. He's the starting goalie, and he's going to be a solid goaltender for the Leafs. 5 years at $5 million per year, if that's right. That's a great contract. They didn't give him too much, and as to what the Leafs gave up, it's amazing. I can't believe how well Brendan Shanahan, Lou Lamoriello, how well they've done with completely just turning around the Maple Leafs in just a few seasons. I mean, in the last year, a year and a half, they've been able to get rid of David Clarkson, Dion Phaneuf. I'm not going to say get rid of Phil Kessel, but they were able to move him. They were able to move all those big salaries. They moved James Reimer as well. They moved Roman Polak for picks. They've moved out all those veterans, and now they have the first overall pick. They have a starting goaltender. They have nice young defensemen, or really, Jake Gardner is pretty much a veteran defenseman now on that team, but Morgan Riley, I know they have a bunch of other young defensemen as well coming up, but you look at their forwards, I mean, Austin Matthews, assuming they draft him, William Nylander, Soshnikov, what was the one I'm forgetting? Oh, man. Well, they have Mitch Marner, but we'll see if he plays. There was one more. I don't remember. Oh, that's going to kill me. I don't remember. But they also have JVR, Leo Komarov. They still have Bozak and Kadri. They've got a pretty good team. If they can add a defenseman, like another solid top 4 defenseman, they're going to be a very good team next year. I don't think they'll make the playoffs next year. I think they'll be around maybe like 10th-ish in the Eastern Conference. 10th, 11th. I don't think they'll finish in the bottom 5 again. But I don't see them making the playoffs. The Eastern Conference is way too competitive, and they're still too young, and they're still too young and kind of weak on defense. Morgan Riley, he's not a top 2 defenseman yet. They do have some solid defensemen, but not enough to make them a playoff team, in my opinion. And also, their top forwards are all going to be younger guys, so can't really rely on them to carry the team all the way to the end of the season. They most of them haven't played seasons that long before, so you can't rely on rookies to carry you into the playoffs. But Frederik Andersen's the real deal. He's going to be the starting goaltender. I think he's going to play, just fine for Toronto. I don't know what to say. He's just a solid goaltender. He's not there with the elites, but he's a great goaltender. He's a goaltender that you can win a championship with. I mean, I'd put him at the same level as like a Martin Jones, pretty much. Same type of goaltender. But yeah, as for what the Leafs gave up, they were able to get rid of... They were able to make this deal, get a starting goaltender who's 26 years old, and sign him to an extension, and they only gave up 2 draft picks. They didn't give up any roster players. They didn't give up any prospects. Draft picks are just basically outside of the top 10. You can even say top 5. It's just throwing darts at a dartboard. I mean, you really don't know. 30th overall, I mean, that's it may pan out, it might not. And then the second round pick, that could be number 31, that could be number 59. We don't know yet. So again, they're both maybes, and they got a 26-year-old starting goaltender, which is amazing. And as far as the Anaheim Ducks perspective, I don't like the deal. I mean, I think obviously they couldn't have waited another year because Andersen only has 1 year left on his deal. But I mean, I don't know. Only time will tell. I mean, we'll see how Andersen does in Toronto. We'll see how John Gibson pans out. But I think they should have, if they're still going for the Cup next year, I think they should have kept Andersen over Gibson. But they went with the younger goaltender. I can't blame them there. I think they could have gotten more for Frederik Andersen than basically 2 second-round picks. I mean, number 30, it's a first-round pick, but I mean, it's the last pick in the first round. I think they could have gotten more for Frederik Andersen. But fun fact, I don't know if not many people know this, but Frederik Andersen's actually been drafted twice. He was originally drafted in 2010 in the 7th round by the Hurricanes, and he didn't sign there. And then he got redrafted by the Ducks in 2012. So I'd never known that before until I looked it up earlier. So I thought that was interesting. I never knew that. But up next, the the New York Rangers trade the rights to defenseman Keith Yandle to the Florida Panthers in exchange for a 2016 6th-round pick and a 2017 conditional 4th-round pick, and the Rangers got that 4th-round pick because he did sign with the Panthers. So the Rangers get a 2016 6th and a 2017 4th for Keith Yandle's rights. And then Keith Yandle agreed to terms with the Panthers on a 7-year, $44.45 million contract with an average annual value of $6.35 million per year. And this one hurt. Keith Yandle, since the Rangers got him last year, he became one of my favorite players on the team. He was amazing. He played very well in the 2015 playoffs. And if any of you guys are Florida fans, you are going to love Keith Yandle, because for all the defensive mistakes he makes, and he does make some, but they're very forgivable because he makes some amazing passes. Occasionally, he'll miss his spot and it'll become an icing, and that could be frustrating at times, but just look at some highlights. I mean, some of the stretch passes he makes, he can take the puck out from behind his own net, skate up to about the face-off dot in his own zone, and fire a pass all the way up to center ice and spring someone on a breakaway. I'll never forget the goal in the 2015 playoffs that Carl Hagelin scored against the Penguins. Keith Yandle did that exact thing. Came up the left boards from behind his net, fired a pass up, sprung Carl Hagelin on a breakaway, and he just wristed it like under the blocker of Fleury. It was beautiful, and he's done that all year. He had 42 assists this season, 5 goals. I mean, he can definitely score more goals than that, but he's a pass-first kind of guy. And I'll also never forget the goal he scored against the Philadelphia Flyers this season. I'm going to go off and do kind of a, I guess, personal note here. I mean, because my mom was actually invited by one of her friends to go to that game in Philly against the Rangers, and I went over to one of my friend's house and we watched it. He's a Flyers fan, I'm a Rangers fan. We had our jerseys on, and we've done this before, and we obviously watched the game, and it gets so intense. And the game, it was I forget whether it was 2-1 or 3. I think it was 2-1. Yeah, it was 2-1, and there was like 10 seconds left, and all the Flyers were just crowded around the net, and I think it was Derek Stepan, but it may have been Dan Boyle, either one of them. Keith Yandle was at the top of the point, passed it right in his wheelhouse. He fired it, went top shelf over Steve Mason's shoulder, and he tied the game with like 8 seconds left or 9 seconds left, something like that. It was insane. It was crazy. But yeah, Keith Yandle, he grew to be one of my favorite players on the team, and it's so sad to see him go because he's such a good player. He's 29 years old. He's up there with one of the better offensive defensemen in the league. Obviously, he doesn't touch Erik Karlsson, but he's still one of the best. And he was, I'll say this, and I watched every single Rangers game this year, so I know he was the most consistent defenseman on the Rangers this year. He was their best defenseman. He did make some defensive mistakes, but he actually made a lot more. He improved on his defense from last year. I noticed he made a lot. He was a lot better defensively. He was a lot harder on the boards, stealing the puck off players. He was a lot better defensively this year, and offensively he just flourished. And I mean, I couldn't believe some of the decisions Alain Vigneault did and didn't make this season. I really thought Alain Vigneault was going to get fired, and I was kind of disappointed that he didn't, and that they said he was going to come back for another year, because, I mean, Alain Vigneault is a great coach, and he's done some incredible things with the Rangers over the past few years, but this season, he dropped the ball. Since he came onto the team, he switched. I mean, this is talk for another video, so I won't get into it in depth. I was about to go off into kind of a rant, but I'm going to keep it focused on Keith Yandle. But Vigneault did not give Yandle the time he deserved at the beginning of the season, or even going back to last season. The first few months of the season, he wasn't on the top line power play, which was ridiculous, and he was only playing top 6 minutes. It wasn't until Ryan McDonagh got hurt that he finally started playing top 4 minutes and first line power play time, and that's when his points really started. He started raking in the points. If he'd played the full season, with the amount of ice time he was getting second half of the season, he could have hit 60 points. He was that good. So yeah, definitely going to miss him on the team. I mean, I'll just read off some of his stats. It's insane. 2010-11, he put up 59 points. 2011-12, 43. 2012-13, he put up 30 points in 48 games. 13-14, he put up 53 points. 14-15, total with Rangers and Coyotes, he put up 52 points. And all those stats before, that was on the Coyotes. I mean, sure, 2012 they had a good year, but after that they weren't a great team. And then this year he put up 47 points. And, I mean, the last 2 seasons, I mean, when he was with the Rangers last season after he came over in the trade, he was a +6. This year he was only a -4, which, I mean, before that in Arizona he was a -23 and a -32. So he improved. And this year in the playoffs, I believe he was the only Rangers defenseman to get a goal. Or maybe Diaz. I forget if Diaz got credit for that goal in Game 5 or if Kreider tipped it or Nash or something. It doesn't matter. But in the 2015 playoffs, he actually had 11 points in 19 games. So he's a playoff performer as well. But the cap hit and the years, at first when I looked at it, I was like, wow, that's a huge deal. But I think it is a great deal for the Panthers. Because, for 3 reasons. First off, he's a bona fide top 4 defenseman. And you know what you're getting. You know you're going to get 45-plus points out of Keith Yandle. And especially in Florida's system with all the offensive guys that they have, like Yager and Barkov and Huberdeau and Bukestad, all these guys, Riley Smith, UC Jokinen even. You put Keith Yandle in there, that's going to be exciting to watch. That's going to be fun to watch. I'm going to be watching a lot more Panther games next year, I'm telling you. Just based off this one move. So you know what you're getting with Keith Yandle. He's not going to be a bust, I promise. Second, he's 29 years old. He'll turn 30 before the season starts. So he'll be 36, 37 years old around there when the contract is up. That's not bad for an offensive defenseman. For forwards, that wouldn't be great. But offensive defensemen, look at Brian Campbell. He's like 37 or 38 years old, and he's still going to get paid in free agency. The Panthers even want to bring him back because he can still put up points. Dan Boyle, I know he was garbage defensively this year for the Rangers, but he wasn't bad offensively. He still put up 20-something goals in 2 seasons with the Rangers, like 40-something points. He wasn't bad offensively. Offensive defensemen can still get it done. Obviously not at the same rate as when they were younger. But even towards the end of this contract, I still think he can put up around 30 points a year, 35 points-ish. Beginning of the contract, the first 4 years or so, 45 to 50 points. That last 4 years, maybe 30 to 40. Maybe he drops down to like 25 his last season. I'm not sure. but I think he'll be worth it through the whole contract. I don't think they're gonna have to worry about buying him out or anything like that. And third, the cap hit isn't the worst thing. I mean, $6.3 million. That's not in today's NHL. That's not a lot. You know, you look at PK Subban. He's making like $9 million a year. So for Yandle to get $6, that's not bad. Again, like I said, you know what you're getting from or with him, and especially because the cap went up. I think the cap went up by like 1.4 or something like that, 1.4 million, 1.6 million, something like that. So if the cap continues to go up over the years, you know, 7 years from now, that could be, you know, even better, an even better looking salary. So it's a good deal for them. The Rangers, I'm not going to blame Jeff Gorton for not trading him at the deadline. I didn't think he should have traded him at the deadline. Still, looking back on it, I'm not going to blame him for it. I don't blame Glenn Sather for trading for him last year. I think he definitely helped the team. If Keith Yandle was not on the team this year, the Rangers would, I don't even think they would have made the playoffs, honestly, because some games he just carried the team offensively. And the Rangers, you know, especially second half of the season, they really slowed down, and they did not look good offensively. Guys like Zuccarello, Brassard, second half of the year, they kind of trailed off. Rick Nash, he wasn't himself this year. You know, and they weren't getting much offense from anywhere else. You know, McDonough, he had a down season offensively as well. So Yandle just carried the offense from the back end, and you need that. I mean, you need puck-moving defensemen, and Yandle was the only solid puck-moving defenseman this season. Like I said, he was the most consistent defenseman on the Rangers this year, and you know, he was incredible. And so come trade deadline time, if you're still planning on trying to win the cup, you're not going to trade him away. So I don't blame Jeff Gorton for not trading him. I applaud him for recognizing that he wasn't going to be able to give him $6.3 million a year for 7 years and at least getting something. I mean, that's 2 draft picks. I mean, yes, they're not great picks. They're still, again, dartboard, but at least they're players. They're prospects. I mean, Anthony Duclair, he was a 3rd-round pick. I think Pavel Buchnevich was a 3rd-round pick. Henrik Lundqvist was a 7th or 8th-round pick. Anything can happen with picks, so at least they got something for him. Again, great signing for the Florida Panthers. I am disappointed that he left the Rangers, but I'm not disappointed that they didn't sign him because even if the Rangers had given him 7 years at 6-point-something million, no doubt he's worth it, but the direction the Rangers are going, or at least the direction I want them to go in, he isn't, I don't want to say he isn't needed, but I don't think the Rangers are in a position where they should be signing guys like that to try to make a cup push. I think the Rangers, not to rebuild, but to retool, give younger guys some time. I think he definitely would have helped out with the development of Brady Shea, because I think Shea needs to learn from a guy like that and be eased into a top 4 role, top power play role, but we'll see how that goes. But yeah, so overall, great deal for the Leafs, great deal for the Panthers. I can't wait for draft day, man. It's going to be insane. I'm actually recording this the night before draft day, so this will actually go up really early in the morning, draft day. So I plan on recording a bit, and also I wanted to point this out at the end of this video. I haven't recorded in months. Reason for that being, I went like a month without recording just because the first month, it was just because I wasn't feeling it. You know, I wasn't, you know, there were times where I wasn't in the mood to. With school, I mean, finals were insane. It was a crazy end of the year. You know, once you get into high school, there is no time to relax at the end of the year. They work you literally until the final bell. You're taking tests. So I wasn't really focused on it at all. And then I was so frustrated the last month or so because a few weeks ago I tried recording and it wasn't working. I would record it, I would get it on my laptop, it would save audio, everything was good. I tried to upload it to YouTube and it wouldn't work. It wouldn't upload. The upload bar would go like halfway and then it would stop and it wouldn't upload. And then I would close out the Elgato. I would close the the program or the whatever, and I would try to bring it back up, and it would say it's already, the application's already running. You need to close it before you can reopen it. But I closed it, so I'd have to like turn off my laptop, turn it back on, or just restart it, just so I could go back into Elgato and have the same thing happen again. So I literally couldn't record for months. I tried recording East Side Hockey Manager, and I still want to do that, so I'll try. Another game I got recently was MLB The Show 16, so let me know if you guys want me to play that game. I'll be happy to do a Road to the Show series. I'll be happy to do a even some Diamond Dynasty. I love Diamond Dynasty in this game, and even a season mode or a franchise mode, whatever it's called. I'll be happy to do any of those series. I'm not going to be playing NHL just because I don't like that game. And also, I'll throw this in at the end. The NHL 17 gameplay trailer, I was so, I wasn't disappointed, I wasn't angry, I just laughed because they didn't show any gameplay. They just panned around, they showed same thing they have the last few years. They showed the mascots and the crowd, and oh, there's smoke coming out of the Jumbotron when there's a goal. Oh, and look at that, Phil Kessel holding up the cup. Like, show the gameplay. I mean, oh, cool, the puck, it rolls now. They haven't really showed in depth any of the game modes, any gameplay. At least they said that they're making the game with like a code or whatever available like a week before launch. Hopefully that's hopefully you have access to like the full game. Hopefully it's not a beta version. Hopefully it's like the full game. Hopefully it's not last year where it's just like EA SHL and then the other stuff is there but you can't play it. It's just you click on it and it gives you a trailer. I hope you can play all the modes because NHL for me for the first time in I don't know how many years, it's not a guaranteed buy for me this year because I don't know. I'm not going to waste $60 on a game that I'm only going to play for like 2-3 months and then stop. I hope it's going to be a good game, but we'll see. Also, congrats to Vladimir Tarasenko going on the cover. I wanted it to be Pavelski, but I like Tarasenko too, so that's fine. But yeah, so I plan to do a video tomorrow night, or tonight as you guys are watching this, after the draft on my reactions. I'll go over like the top 5, top 10 picks. I'll go over any of the trades that are happening. Hopefully Rick Nash is traded. I'm hoping for it. I'm pulling for it. Hopefully for a first round pick or something. Come on, Anaheim. Work with me here. Give us Cam Fowler or something. I'm pulling for it. But again, Panthers fans, Maple Leafs fans, be happy because you guys got some. You guys got a good player. So yeah, let me know what you guys think of the deals, and I will see you in the next video.